By definition, Model United Nations is an academic simulation in which representatives strive to achieve a solution to whichever conflict we are faced with.
It was best explained through one of my fellow delegates, Samir, in our committee, and that is, what I love about Model UN is that an Indian boy from California can defend the policies of the Israeli government. And that right there is the essence of Model UN. It's about creating hope, solving problems when others couldn't. That is what Model UN should be.
What I would like to discuss today is the concept of failure,
empathy,
Gratitude.
Ownership.
Despite our numerous triumphs, some of us failed. Some of us reached lackluster solutions, and in some cases, no solutions at all. But growing our understanding of why these vastly complicated issues continue to result in failure is one of the reasons that I am encouraged.
In debate, this concept is pivotal, as we must separate people from their ideas and policies, and be able to recognize that we exist in an equal medium that revolves around no singular individual or perception. This idea is essential in government policy, negotiation, and life entirely.
I have gratitude for the fact that this conference exists. I have gratitude for the fact that LCM exists. And the reason for that is because LCM is an organization that consistently adds value to people's lives.
In MUN, you have to be able to put another idea over your own work. You have to be able to put a bigger concept over the effort that you yourself have put in. And I'm really thankful that I've had that experience and that I feel like I've been able to change towards that idea of a greater concept over your own work.
So I want you to know that there is no harm in trying a new debate style every single conference until you feel truly comfortable.
Not having a country with a firm stance or a lot of power can be liberating because it lets me adopt virtually whatever opinion I want to.
Justice is the act of evaluating or being evaluated fairly as equals. It's impossible to come to true justice because every fact and observation is clouded by personal influences of the human enforcing it. All around the world, justice is different, and different countries have different laws to try and tackle what is truly just. So as you observe the justice and injustice in the world around you, try and understand why and what criteria you use to define justice.
I had the pleasure of chairing this weekend Security Council, and I would like to share with you some of the quick reflections. A couple words could make enough of a difference to allow for radically different interpretations of the law. Words, and by association the law, are naturally subject to interpretation. They are flexible, and we cannot be afraid of that as delegates. Your words, spoken or written, are powerful and important. Secondly, we should not avoid the difficult questions, because when we do so, we undermine the effectiveness of our debate.
Now, I don't ever recall working on a crisis that was as challenging and as complex as the crisis in the Middle East between the people of Israel and the Palestinians. What is love anyways? Whether it be for a girl, for a god, or for a country, that often makes us resort to violence as a means to justify our ends.
We discussed the topic of Jerusalem. We simply could not agree on what to do. All of us were trying to protect the religious rights of the Islamic and Christian people while attempting to create a state for the Palestinians. All the while, one thing sat in the back of our mind. Israel had redlined, and we had no choice but to give up Jerusalem if we ever wanted statehood.
I was part of the delegation which represented Israel, and we weren't willing to compromise or do all these other things that were important for a negotiation. But as the debate continued, I realized that my policy of never budging and so saying things like, unless you guarantee the safety of the state of Israel, there will be no further talks. That only served to raise tensions instead of actually solving the problem.
We finally decided that the safety and dignity of the Palestinian people were more important than Jerusalem itself. We gave them official control over the city, and we were granted land and a nation.
The first thing I learned in these talks is to compromise. And I know it sounds cliche, but it really is important.
It's not just about securing and relinquishing certain assets, but rather about creating a cohesive solution that satisfies both parties.
Focusing on the chip on your country's shoulder is not a mere historic injustice. Look to the future, not towards the past.
Over 2 days of, at times, quite very heated debate, we arrived at an agreement that both sides can wholeheartedly accept. I'm half Israeli and have visited Israel 3 times. Actually reenacting the real Israeli-Palestinian debate with intelligent peers quickly made me realize how I had never really thought through the issues to any appreciable depth, and how my vague desires for peace in the area were much easier said than done.
Being a mediator really helped me to appreciate how involved you can be as a delegate, and also taught me to step back and focus solely on the stakes in my policy while I'm in committee.
We have a commitment, delegates, to help those who simply cannot help themselves. We're not learning about debate skills or speech skills, delegates, but life skills. What you do with these skills is up to each of you.
I think that individually, this conference makes everybody better. Better people, better students, better speakers, and better negotiators. But in a way that perhaps Simon may not have anticipated, I think that this conference makes for a better world. That's something I can be grateful for.
I would like to thank LCM for being literally my only news source for the last 4 years. I mean, before freshman year, I didn't know that there were countries outside of the US, and at this point I'm pretty confident that Venezuela is a country and that Europe exists, but I'm still working, there's still some kinks to be worked out on my geopolitical knowledge. But in all seriousness, LCM is a great program, and I can't thank you all enough for letting me be a part of such an academic and fun community.
I had so much fun in the last few days. Yet, I have to admit that it has been one of the most intellectually exhausting days of all of my conference experiences.
And I am just so happy I found a program where I can express myself and gain knowledge about the world and confidence in just everyday life. So I have LCM and Model UN to thank for that.
All these words, I'm sure, and I speak for Katarina as well, really makes us feel like we have wings. And this really reminds me of why we do what we do. Because we need to explore our values, delegates, and define them. And your task right now, the way I see it, is not just to get excellent grades. It's not just to go through school, but also to define who you are, what values you are going to abide by when you reach maturity.